Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dr. Ray, and you found yourself on my YouTube channel where I go over questions that you guys ask me. I'm a small animal general practitioner and I'm a veterinarian, and so I answer your questions which mostly revolve around food. And today I actually am going to go over a package, my first package I got in the mail from you guys. So in this package there was a pet food, empty pet food bag, and so we're going to go over the label today. In this package there was also a lovely note, and in this note it explains that this person, this subscriber, had some questions about Bil-Jac puppy food, large breed puppy food. She got a new puppy. Puppy was having trouble with keeping food down in the diet, so she found this Bil-Jac and she wanted me to evaluate it. She also did a little, she sent me a picture which was really interesting. She did a little study on her own because her pet was throwing up, and so she did this study with ProPlan, Bil-Jac, and then Science Diet. And so I'll show you the picture of how the food dissolved. So over here you have the ProPlan, over here you have the Science Diet, and in the middle you have the Bil-Jac. And so you can kind of see the difference between the two and how they broke down. She said she was at her wit's end. She had tried all kinds of things. The puppy was still vomiting. And then after 36 hours in the water, she was finding that the other foods were still whole kibble, and the Bil-Jac was disintegrated. And so she feels like that maybe was part of the success on why this was working for her pet. But she wanted to make sure that the parameters were okay, and she wanted to know my opinion. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to scribble on a package. All right, see if we can make this work. All right, so here it is, Bil-Jac. Front of the package. We're going to go through, we're going to use the PSS scoring system like we always do. That's not going to change. The only thing that's going to be different is that we are going to be using an actual package. And you guys can send me your packages too if you think this is fun. I think it's nice to change it up every once in a while, so that's what we're going to do today. All right, so front of the package, you've got the name up here, Bil-Jac. You've got a picture of what to me looks like a Great Pyrenees, which would be considered a large breed. Large breed puppy is defined as some places puppies that when they reach maturity are going to be over 50 pounds. Some places say over 70 pounds. So Great Pyrenees would certainly fall into that category. So you've got the picture there. Over here, 25 pounds of fresh chicken used to make this 30-pound bag. And so that's kind of interesting. Now, the thing to note here, and this kind of goes into the ingredient list, which we'll take a look at in a few minutes. 25 pounds of fresh chicken. That means, yes, that's great. 25 of the 30 pounds is fresh chicken, but you need to realize that 25 pounds includes water. And so when they use this fresh chicken, that's going to be dehydrated because this is a dry kibble. And so it's a little bit misleading. It probably did start out as 25 pounds of chicken, but when you take all the moisture out, that 25 pounds of chicken that's mostly water is probably going to be maybe not even a pound. I'm not sure. I do have a freeze dryer and it's not working right now, but when I get it up and running, I want to show you guys what it is when you remove all the moisture out of, let's say, a chicken breast. You can see that, see what that difference is, but we're going to have to wait till we get that fixed to do that demonstration. So that, that's on the front of the package. Large breed puppy, so it says it right there. Vital nutrition for large breed puppies. Digestion and immune support, guaranteed amount of canine-specific probiotics. And so they are saying digestive support, but they're saying because of the probiotics, they're not saying anything about that dissolving a little bit more quickly. And I have some theories about why that might have been good for her particular pet, and I'll go into those a little bit later. They added glucosamine and chondroitin, that's great. Lean muscle support, guaranteed amounts of key amino acids. I think that is a requirement. So the fact that they put that on there is great, but they kind of have to do that anyway. Let's see. No sprayed on rendered fat, made in the USA. Yeah, so that's pretty much it on the front. This was a 30-pound bag. We're going to go ahead and flip to the back now. and C. So fresh chicken is the #1 ingredient. We talked about that already. Naturally sourced glucosamine, chondroitin, canine specific. Okay. Whole grains. So we talked about why grains are important in dogs. We want to avoid the grain-free. We want to make sure that we're not feeding too many pulses, peas, potatoes, that kind of thing, because of the implications on the heart. And so you can check out my video on grain-free if you have questions about that and why we're talking about that. But this is a grain diet, so I'm happy about that. A little bit more marketing stuff here. Fresh, never frozen chicken. They don't compromise nutrition. Nutri-Lock, slow cooking. Okay. So, as you can see, we've gone through the front and the back of the package, and there has not been anything earth-shattering here. So far, we've established that this is a large breed puppy, and that's about it. They hide the information on the packages in the most unassuming area. So it's usually going to be the sides. And so you can see here, you have to open up the side and read this itty bitty 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 tiny print to find the guaranteed analysis. And so we're gonna go into that next. The guaranteed analysis, you can get 5 points for the point scoring system. If you're new here, the point scoring system is just something that I came up with to help me stay on task and not get too far off task. And so I created this point system just to keep things even. Don't let the marketing confuse us. Don't let it emotionally blackmail us. Don't let us, have all this weird stuff in our head that's not important. We're going to stick to the things that are important. And so that's going to be the guaranteed analysis. There's 5 points there if the guaranteed analysis is correct and the parameters that we want it to be. So the basic parameters, that's going to be your fat, fiber, phosphorus, calcium, and protein. And so we're going to go there next. 5 points there. 2 points for the ingredient list, and that is the only thing that we're going to look on that is going to be, is it grain-free or is it raw? If it's not grain-free and it's not raw, you're going to get 2 points there. Let's see what else. The feeding guide, we're going to make sure that's correct. You get a point there. The AAFCO statement, which is probably the most important, and that you're going to find is really hidden on this package, but we're going to find it today. You get 2 points there. So if it's a feeding child, you're going to get a point, and if it's for the correct life stage, you're going to get a point. And so that's how the point system goes. We try to do that on every single video, and it just helps us be able to compare foods in the end. All right, let's get into the guaranteed analysis. It also has, oh wow, it's all here. This one little box, tiny little box, which takes up like 1/100th of the real estate of the package, has all the important information. Everything else is completely superfluous. And so, yeah, that's all marketing. Important stuff is right here, and then your feeding guide's on the other side right here. And so literally like 1/100th of the package is used for the important bits of information. So again, make sure you're not getting sucked in by the packaging and you're going straight for, the good stuff, which is, right here. So, in her card that she sent me, she actually wrote down for me the parameters, which was really sweet. And she wrote down that the protein 24, fat 17.1, fiber 4, moisture 10, calcium 1.15, phosphorus 0.94. And you'll find that mimics exactly, she's written down for us exactly what is listed here. You have to be careful though, because these numbers, and this is a really common thing, are minimums and maximum. It is a guaranteed analysis based on the minimum and the maximum they promise to supply in this food. That's all they're legally required to list on the package. And so, although those numbers are good, I wanted to go a step further. And so I actually went and emailed the company, and I had them give me exact numbers so that we could do this review, very good and very in-depth. So, here we have the numbers coming straight from Bil-Jac. All right, so on this side, I have written down the Large Breed Puppy standards from Small Animal Clinical Nutrition. On this side, I have Bil-Jac, what I was, given from the company. And then we'll compare those to what we were given by the package. So, package says protein is not less than 24%, but when I called the company, they said it was actually 23%. So that's a little bit off there. It's still fine because we want protein between 20 and 32, but you can see the discrepancy there. Calcium should be between 0.7 and 1.2. They're listing it on the package. Do they even list it on the package? They don't even list it on the package. They're not required to list it on the package. I'm assuming that she collected this for us from the website, but it actually is 1.35. So she had reported that it had listed as 1.15. That's actually 1.35, which is a little bit in excess, so that you can see here, if you had gone with the 1.15 that's listed as a minimum, it's actually over. So yeah, minimally it is 1.15, but it's actually 1.35, which is in excess of what we want. So you have to be careful there, and that's why it's important to kind of get the exact number. Sometimes you have to press these companies for it. It's nice if they listen and give it freely, but sometimes you do need to call them and actually get the information. Phosphorus needs to be between 0.6 and 1.1. They were listing the phosphorus at 0.94, but in reality, that was a minimum. In reality, it is 1.11, and so we're okay. We're 1/100 of a point off. I'll give it to them on that one. Fat for a large breed puppy should be between 8 and 12%. They were listing it on the package as 17%. You can see there it says not less than 17%. It's actually 16%, and that is a little bit in excess of what we want, and so a little bit higher in the fat than what we want. I'm usually okay with that with a puppy. It's hard for them to be overweight. As long as you're transitioning off the puppy at around 9 months, you should be fine with that. Fiber less than 5%, it's at 4, so it's fine with the fiber. So I think on this one we're okay with the protein. The calcium was a little bit off. The phosphorus, I'm going to give it to them. The fat was a little bit off, so for the point system I can't give it, but it's okay in my opinion. We'll factor that in the end in our minds. And the fiber was okay, so they're going to get 3 points there so far. So let's move on to the next thing. It is the AAFCO statement. So AAFCO statement is right here, and it says Bil-Jac Large Breed Puppy Food is formulated. We'd like to see it feeding trial, so you're not going to get a point there, to meet the nutritional levels established by AAFCO for growth, including large size dogs, 70 pounds more when they are an adult. So that is correct. So 1 point on the AAFCO statement. It is the correct life stage. It is a large breed puppy, but it was formulated. Now, what does formulated mean, and is that a horrible thing? Formulated means that they used a pre-existing formula, okay? They didn't do a feeding trial on this particular diet, and it just shows that companies, sometimes put a little bit of extra effort. But what can happen sometimes is, let's say they already have another large breed puppy in their portfolio, same parameters, they just changed the flavor. Sometimes they won't re-feeding trial that. I don't know that that's the case here, but that's what formulated means. Is it necessarily a bad thing? Is it a deal breaker? No, it's not a deal breaker. But we're trying to go through and find out the best of the best and then sift through that. And so that's why I have included that as a point if you do feeding trial. So they're going to get 1 point for the AAFCO statement. So we got that. 3 points for the ingredient list, 1 for the AAFCO statement. We've got the ingredient list here. We talked about that. They are correct. Chicken is the first ingredient. They promised that. That's true. Chicken byproduct is the next one. It says organs only source. Organs only, and it is a source of arginine. So byproducts, there's whole definition on what byproduct is, and I'll stick that definition up here so you guys can have that. It's not necessarily a bad thing. So organ meat is very nutritious, and they're having to put that on there because chicken byproducts is probably the legal definition, but they don't want you guys to shun it, so they're going and they're saying, look, it's organs only, it's not so bad. And so the ingredient list is all about it used to be important. It used to be, telling people what's in it. Now it's all about how can we make it look better? How can we not be a bad guy? How can we appeal to people? And so I don't spend a lot of time on there. So chicken, we talked about that. 25 pounds is chicken. Well, that's mostly water. It really should say something like 25 pounds or whatever, 23 pounds of water included with chicken or something like that. And it is deceptive, and they know it's deceptive, but they hide behind the veil of it's marketing. It's not deceptive. So it just depends on what side of the coin you're on, I guess. So we're not going to go into the ingredient list anymore, waste any more time on that. Let's see. So what do we have left to do? We did the guaranteed analysis. We did the AAFCO statement. We did the ingredient list. They're going to get 2 points there because it's not grain-free or raw. So we've got 2 there. We've got 3 there. We've got 1 there. So we're up to 3, 4, 5, 6. So far we're negative 2, 3, negative 3. Last point we're going to get is on the feeding guidelines. Okay, and so feeding guidelines is over here on the other side panel. First thing we want to do is make sure that the metabolizable energy is correct, and she did that work for us, and she let us know that it's 4,000 tens kcal per kilogram, so it needs to be around 4,000. That's close enough for us to do comparison on a dry matter basis. And that could be the other thing too, why her numbers were a little bit off on the guaranteed analysis. That's also not a dry matter basis. And so dry matter basis means they've taken all the moisture out, and so you're just looking at the nutrients, and it makes it easier to compare food. So kind of circling back to that, that could also be why some of the numbers that were provided to us from the internet and from our subscriber were a little bit off. So when you are calling the company, make sure you're asking for these parameters on a dry matter basis. It's very important. You can do the conversion, but when you're asking them anyway, it's just easy to ask them, so you don't have to do the conversion. It's kind of lengthy, for those of us that, aren't really liking math, and that's fine. You can just ask. 403 kcal per cup. All right. On the package, they're saying we're going to pick, let's just pick 20 because that's like always our favorite number. We pick 20. For a 20 to 30 pound puppy, you're going to feed 2 to 3 cups per day. So I'm assuming 20 pound, we're going to do 2. 30 pound, we're going to do 3. And so let's calculate that. 2 cups, so 403 times 2, that's 806. So they're saying we should do 806. Now, have it here. The resting energy requirement is going to be the body weight in kilograms to the 0.75 times 70. And so I usually use the chart to do that, but today, since we're completely computer free and doing this totally analog, we'll go ahead and do the calculation. Well, not completely analog because I need my calculator to do it. I can't do it in my head. Let's see, how do we get this to be scientific calculator here? Okay, so 806, 20 divided by 2.2 to the 0.75 times 70, 366. They do not, let's see what they say here. Use the feeding chart as a starting point. The proper amount to feed will vary depending on the age. So it doesn't tell you what age they are recommending. And so how this goes is if it is 4 months, it's 3 times the resting energy requirement. And so that's going to be about 1,000 calories. It's all going downhill. I've lost my permanent marker now. Ugh. All right, so that's 1,000. But if it is between 4 and 9 months, the multiplier for the resting energy requirement is 2. So that was times 2, 732. So somewhere between 732 and 1,000, and this is 806. Are we feeling generous today? I mean, I think we're feeling generous. This is pretty close. I mean, it's just an estimate. It doesn't have to be exact. You're gonna have to go up and down, and they don't really tell you like some of the other packages do. They'll give you more of a breakdown. Go back. So, yeah, I think we'll get a point for that. All right, so how many points do we have? We have, let's look over here, 3 plus 1 plus 2 plus 1, so that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is going to get a 7. They were off because we were a little bit excess in the calcium. Actually, we're quite a bit excess because every little tenth is kind of significant when we're talking about calcium. I'm okay with the fact that it's off on the fat for a puppy. I think that that's okay. The deal with the calcium, especially with large breed puppies, the ratio is really important because too much calcium deposited in the, available to be deposited in the bones can be an issue with growing pains and inappropriate bone development. So I would have hoped that for a large breed puppy, they would have paid a little bit more attention because that's kind of the deal with the large breed puppy as opposed to a regular puppy. But it's okay. So yeah, I mean, I think this is a pretty okay food. The interesting thing about Bil-Jac, and I'll put a picture maybe of the kibble here, and it could be why those kibbles, I wanted to go back to that, so it could be why some of those kibbles dissolved a little bit faster, is the Bil-Jac kibble is a really odd, shaped kibble. It actually looks to me a lot like chicken food. So if you have chickens out there, then you kind of know what I'm talking about. But it's just weird little thin extruded pellet versus the like circular pellets that, a lot of times that we're used to with dog food, extruded dog food. So that could be why. Now, why did her pet do better with the food that's more dissolvable? My theory, and I don't know this, you would have to, have her set up for a scoping, could be she could just have a slower GI motility. So most dogs, the stomach empties within 8 hours. Some dogs, and especially puppies, if they're still, growing and things like that, they can have a little slower gastric emptying time. And so that could be the case that, the food needs to be a little bit, for this reason, needed to be a little bit more dissolvable. That way, the gastric emptying time, if it's a little bit slow, isn't a factor. Probably a canned food, I would anticipate for this pet, probably would have also done good. So that's my take on that. I'll see you guys next time. Like, subscribe, do all the things, and we will hang out again real soon. Bye.